thanks for joining. Thanks for making space in your lives to do this, have this experience with us. It's nice to have you. Okay, so what we're going to do is we just do some channeling and talking, and that's probably what you hear on, well, if you listen to those videos, our friend calls it Joe TV. It's what we channel before we start the meditation focus. It's like whatever seems to want to pop up and come through. So we do that part. And then Joe will do a smudge for you. And it's just nice to invite in all your spirit guides and all your angels to come in and fill your home and open up your energy. Then I will lead you through a guided visualization. And the whole intention of that is to invite in Creator, allowing Creator to fill you, invite in Earth Mother because she gives us this human experience. So always including her in our day. And then inviting in all the grandmothers and grandfathers. And that umbrella of a name is like the loving beings, the ones that know you, love you, and can help you into your future. So when you invite in all of your grandmothers, grandfathers, angels, whatever you feel you can put out there with your intention to fill your home. And then I kind of say different things a little bit. It moves pretty fast, so it's not long drawn out, so don't worry about that. And then with your intention and your blessing, you're going to send Creator's energy through you to each person on the group, and where we'll all connect together in one energy. So energy knows no distance. And when it's our blessing and our intention that we're all connected to God's infinite energy, we allow that space to open up. And it's like our gifts have an opportunity to come through at that time. And we'll focus on Cindy first, likely. And we're all going to send Creator's energy to Cindy. And then she'll just sit back and receive the energy. Cindy, you can also receive visions for yourself. Like if there's something I need to see for myself, I give myself permission to see it. And then we all just share what it is that pops into our minds or what we feel in our bodies. And we share it out loud, and it's like better out than in. And once it comes out, it's interesting on how the energy moves for your spiritual gifts. And this is a safe space to work with those gifts, get to know them if you don't already. And the very end of the focus, after we've all had a turn, we have a healing pot in the center, and it's invisible. Like I look at it like a portal to God. And we put whatever we feel can use universal blessings. Like I put in my business or my workplace or my dreams or my physical body. I put it into the healing pot, or I'll put in my relationship, something like that. And then after we've all had a turn, we'll focus that Creator energy to the healing pot for about a minute. And it's interesting. It changes every week, but you can feel energy get really big sometimes, like super big, and then sometimes it's just really peaceful and calm. It's different every week, but that's the same kind of process we go through today. Okay, now, and then anytime you can ask questions, you can totally interrupt. Joe is really good with that. He can really channel, and he can do things and still answer questions at the same time. So I feel like I need to hand the mic over to Joe now.
What mic?
This one, the invisible one.
Yeah, yesterday we went to Kelowna. We went to a friend's shop and we did some energy work there. People came to see us. It was really nice to meet this one woman. She was from Calgary, and she's quite connected. And she just started this real deep journey, she said, about a year ago, where somewhere inside something triggered, and she just knew she really had to heal all these things. And she grew up Native, she grew up around ceremonies and that, but she didn't have a lot to do with it. And in the last few months, she ended up going to a few ceremonies for different relatives and her mom, and that each one of them wanted to go, and somehow it got presented to her, so she brought them to these different ceremonies. And she just found us on the computer and decided to have a clearing. So it's really nice sometimes when you're seeing somebody beginning their journey and starting to realize they're bigger. There's something more about them. There's something inside that has this desire or reasoning to wake up and explore things. And sometimes you have abilities and gifts or knowledge that you've carried or passed on to you from childhood that is just sitting in there and it wants to come forward. So doing these clearings and that and sitting with these people and just allowing the energy to move through, I always really appreciate that seeing the person where they're beginning their journey and where they will be in the future. Because I always remember my first going into a first sweat lodge. I'd never done one in my life until after I got to Edmonton, Alberta. And a cousin of mine, he says, "You want to go to some healing circles?" And I'm like, "Sure." And so I ended up going there. Then I got invited to this sweat lodge and never heard about them or anything. And I was with all these Cree people and they're all speaking in their language. And I'm standing there and the only thing I speak is English. And back home, I know words of like the Gutchin or Inuvaluit, so I understand some things they're saying, but I don't speak it. And so when I went into the sweat lodge, I remember, and they're all speaking in their language, and it was really hot, and they're drumming on the drums, and they're singing in Cree and everything, and some guys are screaming like coyotes and making other kinds of noises. The pitch black with these people. I remember how terrifying it was, but there was so much energy, and it was opening me up, and I was seeing things and stuff was going on, and I didn't know what was going on. I remember they opened the door and you can go out. So I went out and I just hit the ground. I was laying there trying to cool down before next round, and then you go back in. And after the fourth round, I felt so amazing. And I was like, whatever all of this is, I have to learn it. I don't understand it. I don't know what they're saying, but I'm going to do whatever I can to find out and learn these things. And from there, I started watching other people's journeys too, as they came and they were exploring and discovering things about themselves and growing and stuff. So it's always nice to meet people when they're beginning their journeys or along their journeys, and you share and you hold safe space. But everybody has abilities that they fully have never explored or looked at. And so sometimes there's little fears and doubts and different things because you hear many things and there's many cultures and beliefs, and it's really, really hard to understand some of these things. So you go deeper into them, and the more you trust, the easier you just flow in and out of all of this stuff. So for me, that is one of the most amazing things. When we met Zarina, like, we just started this and was through Crassi and a few things, and we just started doing the meditations, and to see how much she's grown over a year and how much more bigger she's willing to become and different things. So those are the things I really love about all of this. I never know what we're going to channel when we sit here. I never know what the topic is, or I don't really try to focus and say, oh yeah, today this is exactly what I'm going to talk about. I never really know that. Like yesterday, we're having discussions. We're having discussions on the way home in the car, and Cindy's always asking me questions. So I'm always trying to open it up in a way that she can see it, or I'll use different stories, because stories are really important. That's how our mind does things. It looks at stories, it looks at different things, and then it walks through it until it learns the experience, or if it wants to do that. So I always try to open it up and allow it to present itself and go as deep as we can with it. And it usually seems when we're riding places that this goes on, or early in the morning in our lives, we're sitting here and something comes through and she just has a big aha, and things just sort of present themselves. So I'll just give it back to Cindy, whatever topic she has today.
Yesterday when we were driving, I was bringing up about being humble, and that felt like that was going to be the topic today. And I'd really like to speak from like a feeling place when I speak, and I feel like I'm going to be a little bit too much in my head when I'm saying it, but I'm going to go into it and see what happens. So like where it came up, because it's like the universe is always showing us things. And what I was seeing in my surroundings through different people, through Facebook and the internet, and and yeah, different topics that were coming up. There was a message about being humble, and because there's like this always wanting more, like, you know, there's this whole Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and then there was this post that said, just because it's on sale doesn't mean I have to have it. And I was like, okay, right. We're always filling our space up with things, and it's like we think that we own things, and we want to control and we want to hold on to these things, and we feel like, because it gives us a certain like, I don't know, like a chemical response in the body, like we were talking about last week or the week before. And so we go and we continually create and we build up the stuff, but where is it all coming from? Do we ever really own anything? Like any information, like courses, people that do courses, and they're like, they're afraid that someone is going to steal their courses and give them away to other people, and that's bad karma. And I was like, okay, well, how did you get the courses? It's like you also learned and people shared information. It's like there's a sharing. If you view it from a different place of sharing, and then there's an unlimited supply of opportunities, and creator, God, who created everything, is always providing you whatever it is you need and is presenting it to you when you need it. And it's like it's a flow. But if you're keeping it to yourself and trying to hold on to it and keep it in your bank account, hide it away, or, you know, or filling up that space on the wall because there's nothing there, it's like, I don't know, there's something about being humble that came off that same topic. Like, I'm kind of in the zone, but I'm not quite in the zone. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, where she was going with it is, some people, like, you go to their workshops and you pay and they give you all this information. Well, once you've paid for it and it's yours, you have the decision to what to do with it. You may have friends that can't afford that, or maybe just interested in starting into it. So you share that information with them. That's opening a door and giving them an opportunity to find something they may not have found. I'm really bad to do that with books, is share knowledge or get people to buy books and learn. So if I find something I feel that's valuable, or can really, really open a person up to finding some depth or learn something that they're going to integrate into their life, I'm willing to share it. I'm like, because it doesn't belong to me. I have that knowledge in me now. I've read it. I've studied it. I've done what I can with it. So why not share it? And some people are like, well, you're paying for my course, but you can't share my information you paid for. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. It's like somebody comes to me and they want to learn something, and I'll try my best to teach them. And I'm like, whatever you do after this with it, it's yours. It's your story now. However you want to teach and do stuff, is as long as you're honoring and doing right by it, I give you permission to do whatever. I tell people stories, things that I'd had experienced in my life. And I'm like, if you're going to share something that I had told you, maybe just change the name. It's okay that you share the story and you just change the name. It's like, you don't have to say, well, this is what this person said. But if it was really valuable and you feel that's something you're going to do, I give people permission for this. It's like everything comes to me from the universe. I don't really own it. I never have. Mm-hmm. And spirits, guides, teachers, all kinds of things come in. So whenever they plug me in, I just open up and share and try to give what I can.
Yeah.
And one of the things is all kinds of healers and spiritual people like Zarina and all kinds of other people, me and others, we're giving, there's something coming and going through us. Yes. The universe wants us to do this. And a lot of people come and they feel really good and they go, oh, I like that energy and I like that stuff, but it's mine now. And they just start taking, and it's like, why can't you just give back? It's just like there's a different energy, there's an exchange. And once you start doing that, you start getting blessings. Like every time you put it out there and you impact and change something. An old medicine man told me, he says, every time you change one thing in your own life, you're changing 1,000 other people's lives around you. He says that really ripple effect does that. And somehow you're always changing and altering. So when you're giving these things and somebody is doing that, it's also blessing them with things. So they're going to keep getting more. And Cindy is like, So she pays for all these courses. She feels somebody might need the information, but one person said, well, it's like somebody is stealing, and it's like, you already paid for this. It's yours. How are you going to use it and what you're going to do with it? So
Yeah.
she was like, that humbleness of whatever you're receiving, how do you give back out, and how that person takes it and how they give out. And it's like this blessing from God, because it's doing something, it's changing something.
Yeah, and I'm so grateful for all the things that I do have access to, like even this group and each person that's come on the group today. I'm so like willing to receive that flow. And I learned this from Joe, like, because I learned how to be in the world through my family beforehand, right? And it's like you got to do A, B, C, D, right, to live a successful life. And Joe would be like, if you want it, then get it. And I'm like, but, you know, and I have all these stipulations and controls around it. And throughout the years, I've learned to just let it go and let it flow. And everything is always flowing. And I recognize that it's always flowing. And we always have everything we need. Even if it perceives that I'm in lack sometimes, it's like an opportunity. And then I see how I'm blessed and how it comes to me in a totally different way than I was trying to control it. There's something about that, like when I use the word humble, it's like this recognition inside yourself that it's coming from an infinite source, and it's flowing through you. And it will always flow through you. It's never going to just be stagnant, still one thing. Like this is the one way that you can achieve enlightenment. Like there's many different ways, for every soul's on a different path, and you got to be open to your path and your journey, and it can come in all kinds of forms.
Yeah, when we were at the shop yesterday, it's like the person there, she's allowed us to do energy clearings and meditations, and she's helped us in a lot of ways. And so I wanted to buy her a supper because it was late in the evening. I'm like, well, we're going to eat before we go home. So how about we take her out for supper? And every time you give her something, she wants to give you triple back. And I'm like,
Yeah,
it doesn't really work that way. Sometimes you just need to receive, and that's just the universe trying to show you that things are coming to you in a lot of different ways. But she's one of those ones that grew up and she just gave, and she spent her whole life with her family, friends, and everybody just giving. And it's like, you need to just receive. And she wrote us this morning that really helped her to change or realize something. So it was a really big thing, because I said, I want to do this for you because you have helped us in many ways, and I feel this is something I really feel I want to do for you. So we did it, and we had a real nice conversation sitting there and eating and different things, and then it was time to come home. So this morning she sent us this message and she says thank you, she really appreciated it, and really taught her something really deep.
but also in that, when she was placing the order, and she asked Joe, do you want mushrooms and pineapple added on to that? And he said, sure, why not? And then I mumbled, I'm like, they just upselled you like $6. Just, he's like, I don't care. I want it. I deserve it. I'm going to have it. And I was like, of course, right? But there was my conditioning of going, oh, but it's extra and it costs extra. You only deserve maybe like pineapple, not mushrooms and pineapple. You know, that's like my programming. But when with him, he's just like, I don't care. I want it. I deserve it. I'm gonna have it.
Yeah, and I don't do it all the time. It's like every now and then I will go, yeah, I really want this, and sure, it might cost $50. I really don't care. This is something I'm doing and giving to myself, and I feel I deserve it. I mean, all the work, all the energy, everything I do all the time, I deserve to give myself something. And it's not about the money, it's about actually enjoying and sitting there and being happy with what I have.
Totally. And it changed. It was such a different energy, even his meal. And I looked at the pineapple in there and I was just like, that's so cool. You know, it's like, yeah, you do deserve it. We all do. When we feel to do it, because that feeling is there for you to have.
Mm-hmm.
It's your brain and your programming that gets you to say, oh, but. So
Yeah.
wherever you can, if it pops into your awareness, over the next week or so, where it's a feeling versus a thought, just like, hey, I deserve this, or why do I feel this way? And then go deeper with it and see if you can pop it through and see that it's like a flowing energy, always moving through you, always providing. Because we're being given tests all the time if we're going to do something or not do something. Just like me, I'm letting go of my employment. And I've got all kinds of things going on inside my head, but they're opportunities. I'm seeing them as working through, my own limitations.
And part of it is the more you do that, the more you're learning to trust the universe is going to provide for you. It has everything in your life up to now, every experience, every good, bad thing, everything. The universe has provided for a reason, and it's always there ready to respond and give more and do things. So that's a part of the recognition of the universe and humbling yourself, because it is there doing things. Even sometimes we forget all of that and we're like, but I'm working so hard to do this. The universe gave us these things, and so appreciating that. And I really like giving. I really like doing things as part of something in the native culture, and the way my granddad raised me, and that is always trusting in the creator. It's like, if you need something, it's always going to come to you at the right time. And he taught me to believe in this. So this is where if I'm working with somebody and there's something really important to come through, I'm focusing and I got my eyes closed and I'm just sitting there. I know the answer is going to come. I know there's something there that's going to show me or help me. And I don't have to look for it. I don't have to think about it. It's given to me. Whatever spirits are on that person know the things that need to happen. So whatever is shown to me, I just know it's correct. And sitting in this meditation and receiving that way and being humble, lots of things go on. Like I was trying to help Zarina the other day, and I'm like, she's really plugged in. She doesn't really have to think or ask questions. She can just focus and go, okay, what am I supposed to do for this person? And just start letting these things come through. Every now and then she would stop, all kinds of stuff would happen. Then she would think, and then she would, well, do you have a question, or is there something here? So I'm like trying to help her in a way, because for me, it's an automatic doing this all the time. But for other people, it takes a while to just go, okay, whatever spirits are here, what is it that needs to go on here? And how does the energy shift and change? Because they do all the work. We just are sort of that conduit where everything goes through, and the energy and the transitions and this agreement that goes on all gets fulfilled. So I really appreciated that and what she did for Cindy. And I'm like, wow, that was really cool. But after it was over, I was like asking the guides and the spirits, and it's like, it could have got really big for her. It's like there was something, if she just went a little deeper and just let things happen. How was it for you?
Oh, we have to do it once again then, so I can completely expand and let it in. It was interesting. It was interesting, but I think you're right. I think I didn't. There was more potential. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I also feel that now that you said it.
Now there's a little resistance. There's a little bit of wall, fear, and that's another thing I was telling Cindy is we all have different kinds of fears, and we all have doubts, because the universe is doing it. So it's always creating, it's always manifesting, it's always changing. Everything is fluxing and altering. It's like quantum physics. Everything is moving and everything is excited. And like they say, if you get into the fifth dimension and all you think is orange, and all of a sudden you have an orange and you can just sit there and eat it because you manifest it out of air. That's how powerful everything really is. And that's where spontaneous healings and all kinds of stuff, because you really, really do, believe something really, really deeply, the universe manifests and make it. Yesterday, there was this lady, she brought up this prayer, and she read the prayer to me, and she says, so what do you think of this, Joe? And I'm like, there's a couple of things in there I don't sort of agree with. And then Cindy is like, and her is like, so this really works? I'm like, yes, because she really, really honestly believes it. So the universe makes it happen. I says, there's a couple of things in there I don't agree with. So if she was doing that, I'd accept all the things that are coming through. But the three things I don't agree with, I would let them know that these seals or bindings or whatever, I don't accept, because I don't believe you need to be sealed or bound by anything, because the universe is open. It's always trying to grow you. It's always trying to change you. It's always trying to move you. It's always trying to bless you and bring happiness and joy. So one of the things is asking for that happiness and joy to fill you, and believe in that, because it's going to change and it's going to do everything. So when you're focusing on somebody at a distance and the angels say, do this, whatever they're saying, it's maybe my guide or some other or spirit around somebody else. That angel is waiting, because once you do that, it comes in. The person has given permission. They're wide open to receiving this. They don't see that angel and hear what you're seeing and hearing. You're just being told this. You're the conduit. So as soon as you do it, that angel can come in and fix and do whatever and then leaves. So whatever is changing, the energy is going on. And like I say, it's just really, really believing and bringing that deeper inside. And it's really amazing.
Yeah, and where your beliefs are. What is it? How much do you believe in your prayers or your thoughts and such? Because that is an energy in itself. See if you can expand that for yourself, and see where you have your limitations, because we all have it. Like Joe said, the universe created all things, good and bad. And so they're all teaching and opportunities for you. Nothing, I don't know anybody that's having a bliss experience all the time. There's usually a polarity in there somewhere. So those are your windows of opportunity.
Mhm.
If you can catch them. You're like, oh, wait a second, something's going on here. What are you guys trying to do?
Yeah, and it's sometimes just slowing it down and just going, there's something here, and I'm just going to be patient and wait a little bit and
Yeah.
just allow the energy to do its own thing, and then things change. So this meditation, when you're sitting in it, it's just being patient, because things come through. And one of the things I always say is women are very psychic. They're very gifted, especially if you raise children in that. You have this sixth sense. It's just there, but you never really pay attention to it. And then one day you're like, wow, how do I do this? Or people ask you, it's like, you say and do these things, and then all this stuff happens and you're not really conscious of it. And then you start thinking, well, how do I do it? And you start realizing you're either psychic, or you have third eye, or you have intuition, or you're a channeler. There's all kinds of different things. Or you touch an object, and when you touch that object, you see something about the person's life, and you're just telling them, and you never realize this is something you've been doing all the time spontaneously. But in meditation, it's about going inside and starting to allow this theater that's inside you to show you things, and you go in different theaters. So there's many different gifts and energy, and angels take you in and out of different things. The more you're a healer, the more you work with energy, there's more things and opportunities open, and you go inside yourself and you find these different theaters. Or you go in your brain, inside your mind, you have hundreds of millions of little doors, and you find these little doors, and you start realizing, if I open this one, while I'm in there, I can do all these kinds of stuff. And you start learning how to work with this and discover, and then you start owning it, and you become more and more conscious of it. So it changes people's lives, and it's holding that truth and believing what you're doing.
Joe, do you think that when some people receive information, divine information, and if they withhold it from the recipient, from the designated recipient, it's actually eating them inside or causing them some trouble in their lives?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where the universe makes you a messenger. And that's why I'm just a conduit. I'm always a messenger. There's always something that I need to tell people. And the one thing I'll ask is this, am I meant to tell them today? Or is it somebody else that's going to do this when they're ready for it? Because sometimes they're not really ready. And when you bring it through, you're just meant to hold it. And then they go to another place, and all of a sudden they receive it and they're ready for it. So there's different circumstances that affect that. But for me, if something comes to me, it doesn't belong to me, is the way I look at it. And it's really important for that person. So I'm going to find a way to give it to that person. If there's something going on with their body and they're not really in a healthy place, and I see something, I'm just like, when was the last time you've been to the doctor? Maybe you need to go and have them really look at your shoulder. There might be something going on there, but this is just something, and this is something I really feel that's important for you to do. And I'm not going to go in and just say, oh yeah, all of this is going on, and traumatize them and all kinds of stuff, because there's gentle ways of doing things. And that's my way of doing it, is trying to find a really nice way to do this without terrifying a person. So I'll ask, is this really important at this moment? because maybe they're going to come back to you in a month's time, and then they're going to be open. You're like, okay, now I can give it to them because they're going to receive it, they're going to accept it, and they're going to do something about it and change it.
I also mean the gifts people have or that are given to them, and sometimes they don't use them and they start decaying like old food in your stomach.
The more gifts you have, we all came here to do something. Everybody is born to come here to do something. And some people have lots of gifts and they're meant to use them. But when you don't, I've seen people, it causes them to go crazy. It causes them to get sick. And the more you shut it down, the more you attract negative things. So then all of a sudden you're like schizophrenic and things are attacking you. Like my cousin, he was really gifted when we were kids. And this voice used to come up to him and always tell him when the energy started building, this voice would come in, cause him to get really afraid. And he'd want to run away. And it'd say, take butter knives and just stick them in your eyeballs and fall forwards and die, because God's going to kill you anyways. This is what this spirit would taunt him. And it really, really affected him. And he was in and out of the psych ward for the longest time. And he finally asked the doctor, is there something you can do with this? And the doctor says, yeah, lobotomy. So he got a lobotomy and they removed part of his brain. And after I met him after that, that wasn't the person I knew anymore. There was something. He was a different person. It was the energy, everything was gone. And there were memories and a lot of things gone, but he ended up becoming really artistic. He would paint universal scenes. He would do all kinds of stuff. Whatever part he removed in his brain when it rewired made him very, very artistic. But he didn't know how to trust his angels and spirits, and he allowed that spirit to control him and keep him in fear. And he didn't try to get himself past or find the knowledge. So, but that was his way of dealing with it. But he was in and out of the psych ward quite often because of these voices and things.
And would you assume that a lot of people that are in psychic wards are actually people that are very gifted but cannot express their gifts?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Melodome, what's his name?
Patrice Some Maladome.
I'll try to find his book here.
Yeah.
You can keep talking.
Is an African shaman, and they see those that have schizophrenic type issues are really just more psychic, and they need to know how to use their gifts. And so he had there was a family in the States that had their son saw all the psychiatrists and everything, and nobody could help him throughout his teenage years. And so when they had agreed somewhere in his teenage years, some like 17 or 18, to go to his tribe in Africa, and he would live there with them. And eventually, it wasn't too long, a couple years, and they had completely healed him, or he had healed himself. He learned how to use his gifts, and he became a brilliant doctor or something like that. Just was able to help others as well. But he just channeled his brilliance and his gifts in a different way than the Western society has. And so this man, he's written a few books to teach people that it's possible. Joe, I don't think you need to get the books, but that's all right. That's the story of that. But yeah, there's different practices that you can do, like moving the energy, like Qigong is often recommended, that we've heard a lot. It's just how to move the energy through you, because sometimes your crown chakra or your third eye is shut and the energy is not flowing like it should be. Yeah. Any other questions you want to ask while Joe is just over there going through the hundreds of books?
No, I just feel pity for all the, not pity, no, but pity for the whole society, that it hasn't realized that a lot of these people in the psychic wards are actually people that can help society rather than be locked down. Yeah.
I find it interesting that this came up, because just this morning I saw on Facebook a girl I know just checked herself into the psych ward for bipolar, and she's a really strong Christian. So I don't know how to reach out to her and say, your energy's not flowing right. You've got gifts you're not using. And so I'm like, I don't know how to address this.
So in these things like this, there's a way of cutting cords. There's a way of putting the person in really safe energies. And Melodome Some, like, this is one of his books. So we'll send you the recording. You can look at it after. There's this one.
Okay.
He has a few of them. He travels around and he does workshops. He is a doctor, and he healed this young boy. And when this young boy finally came out of it, because the psychologist couldn't do any more for him, after he went to the African tribe, like Cindy said, it was a period of time, and then he came out of it, and he became a doctor so he can start helping people. And so he goes around and he teaches. He has seminars and all kinds of stuff. You can look him up and find information. He's written books and stuff. So the one other one, I got this book years ago. Mercedes gave us this one. For some reason, I'm being told I have to share this. So somewhere, this is written by a native guy, Chokecherry Gull Eagle, he was called. And he talks about native shamanism and healing and the stuff the natives know about the spirit world. If you study Mongolian shamanism too, they're aware of spirits and different things that try to keep us lower, we're trapped in. So knowing these kinds of things can really help you and other kinds of people. The book Core Light, written by Barbara Brennan, she talks about schizophrenia, and she talks about releasing energies, entities, and stuff like that, and how to activate the third eye. Like, she was a scientist and she worked for NASA. So I try to get people to buy these books and read them, because once you understand this and you know this, then you can start lifting yourself out of it. Because when you're afraid, these entities know that they feed on the fear. It's like an energy, it's like food to them. And I go to somebody and I say something and they trigger a fear, and the spirit comes in and just goes, oh yeah, your juice box today. I'm just going to suck everything out of you. I'm just going to make you feel awful and scared. And I'm just going to keep sucking and keep you stuck there. And it's like, when you have this knowledge, you can go into this place and you're like, no, I'm protected by the universe. I'm protected. There's spirits and angels, and you keep inviting them in. These things start lifting away. So when you go to the right kinds of people who really believe, using their energy and their knowledge, you can put them in a safe place. When they're in a safe place, they have to start learning and distinguishing the voices, because you have to start feeling and know these things. After a while, you recognize what's good and what's bad. You recognize the bad ones. You can tell them to leave. You don't have to have them there. And sometimes they will leave and then come back later to see if they can still maybe trick you or scare you and play this game. I call them mischievous ones. It's like a little child that doesn't understand, and it just has tantrums and does this and does that. People will say demons, evil this, evil that, and whatever. I'm like, they're mischievous. To them, they really don't understand the things, because they're trying to evolve and come into this light. They like this light. They like this higher knowledge. They like spiritual things, but they don't have those concepts, and they're learning. So whatever they're doing and why they're attaching you, they're learning and you're learning. And when you learn your lessons, you can actually ask, they go to a higher place where they start learning more and evolving more. So everything is growing. So I just call them mischievous ones. Everything wants to grow and evolve. Everything wants to go to this loving higher place. And that's what evolution and creation is all about. So the less you fear it, the more you can do for people. The more, like I say, these books will give you the knowledge and the understanding. So when you work with it, like I say, Barbara Brennan, she talks about some things you don't do with schizophrenics because they can get trapped. There's certain things that can go on. In Meladome's books, he talks about that too. There was a Russian woman, I had her books too. She was a psychologist. She lives in the States. I can't remember her name right now. I think I have one of her books here, but I had all her books, and she was doing seminars, and she was teaching really lots of stuff, because in Russia, she realized all of this then when she moved to the States, and they recognized who and what she could do. She started doing seminars all over, helping people to learn and understand. And she had some really good stuff there. And I can't remember how I came across the books, but the universe brought them into my life. And I'm like, wow, this is interesting. I would love to meet this woman. But there's a lot of psychologists out there that are taking the unknown and they're helping people understand the reality of it and changing lives and giving people the knowledge and other things to hold space to make another person feel safe that they can come out of this. And you need that knowledge. You need the right kinds of knowledge because you have to be patient and you have to work through things. Some people, they will have an instantaneous, really big shift and change. When we used to do our healing circles 30 years ago in Edmonton, the psychologist would have certain clients, and at a certain point is like, I cannot help you anymore. But if you go down to Skid Row and there's this building, and every Wednesday in the evening about 6, 7 o'clock, these natives, they meet there. If you go there and you just start going to the ceremonies, it's going to heal and do something for you. So every now and then this stranger would show up and be really skittish and afraid and that. And we'd say like, who are you? And they would tell us, and we'd invite them into our healing circles, and it would change your lives. Like the spirits would come in, their schizophrenia would start leaving, and things would just start changing in their lives. Some of them came for maybe 6 months and then whatever went on. And then, but later you would see them always change because being the elders and that, we always paid attention. If we were helping people, we would always watch and see if we see them on the streets, and we'd maybe even go and ask them how they were doing. But whatever we were doing, the psychologist couldn't explain it. Just like if you go there, these natives do stuff, and whatever they're doing may help you. So a lot of people came from the psych ward to our ceremonies.
Anyone have any questions on that one? It's just that anything's possible. And it's your belief systems or whatever you believe in is possible. Creator will show you how. Your angels, your guides will show you the way. Just keep asking to receive your answers, to see through the challenges. If you can help somebody, ask them, how do I help them? And give it some time. It's not always instant. It's not always in the moment. You'll know when it's the right time and what you need to do. If it is sharing a book or, whatever, just keep asking. The more you ask, the more that you receive, and trust.
The way I look at it is whatever is broken, the universe has a mechanic or a way to heal it with energy. There's some kind of angel or some kind of spirit or some kind of knowledge. And when that person receives that and really feels safe, and you start becoming your own mechanic, and the more you learn to integrate and work with these things, a person feels really safe with you. And you have to be compassionate because they have their journeys. And if they were scared of a spider and that traumatizes them and they can't move and they can't do anything as soon as they see one, that's very terrifying. Everybody has their own fears that will stop them dead in their tracks, and they'll just freeze. So being patient with each person, because each person has a different way of moving through things, and they were brought to you for a reason. Mm-hmm. Like I say, call on many mechanics, because the universe has all kinds of them.